Hi, I'm Phyllis from southernfrugal.com. Tonight I'm going to make a Mississippi mud pie. And I want to talk to you just a minute about this recipe. Now, the first time I made this pie, or the first time I got the recipe, was it might have been 1968, 69, 70, somewhere in there. And my sister was at, I think it was a Tupperware party, and a lady had brought one of these. And so she got the recipe, and my sister didn't bake very much, so she always got the recipes and brought them to me and said, "Can you make this?" And so anyway, I made it, and I loved it, and been making it ever since. So the recipe is from, I just wrote down the 1970s. But I'm not real sure. It might have been a couple of years earlier. But the original recipe, it didn't have coconut in it, and it was, it really wasn't a pie, but it was called a pie. And I noticed, I looked up on the internet to see what other people had done to do with the Mississippi mud pie, and I saw a lot of recipes that were actually pies, and they had the chocolate type cookie crust and that kind of thing, and I'm not familiar at all with that. I know restaurants make pies like that now, but I think this has kind of gone the way of the carrot cake. I don't know if y'all remember when that first came out. You had to shred the carrots on that real fine side of the shredder, and then you started seeing years later recipes or pieces of carrot cake for sale in restaurants and all, and you could actually see the slivers of carrots in them. So I don't know how recipes evolved to get to that place, but anyway, I think the Mississippi mud pie might be one of those recipes that has gotten altered so many times. People don't even know what a Mississippi mud pie is anymore. But anyway, what I'm going to make is the version that was going around, I'll just say in the 1970s. And basically the bottom layer, it's not a crust, it's more like a really good rich brownie. That's sort of what it's like. And then there's another layer of marshmallow cream, and then another layer of icing. It's super, super rich, but it is delicious. So anyway, we're going to get started now, and it's a real simple recipe. All right, so we're going to need 1 cup of butter. That's 2 sticks, and we need that butter softened. And I just softened mine by putting it in the microwave for a few seconds. And 2 full cups of sugar. Now to this sugar, I'm going to add 1/3 cup of Hershey's unsweetened cocoa powder. Now, you could use any powder, but I just happen to think this one works the best in this recipe. So in order to get some of the lumps out of that cocoa, the best way to do that is put it right down in the sugar and mix it in the sugar first. That way, most of the sugar crystals are going to break up those little lumps of cocoa. And to me, that's the best way to get rid of it. Some people actually sift it, and you can do that. But it works just about as good to just go ahead and put it in the sugar and mix it all up in there first, and then put it in with your butter and egg mixture. All right, so let's see if we can just mash that down a little bit. See how the lumps are coming out? And you could just dump it in, but be better. I mean, you've got the sugar in here anyway. Just go ahead and dump it in. Use your spatula and just mix it up a little bit. Save yourself some mixing time later. All right. And we got that pretty well mixed up. Most of the lumps are out of it. All right, so now we're going to dump the 2 cups of sugar plus the 1/3 cup of Hershey's unsweetened cocoa powder. And just dump that in. Now I don't like to put my, see how it's fogging up? I don't like to put my mixer in until I get this somewhat mixed up, because otherwise, just like you saw, the cocoa powder kind of flies around everywhere. Alright, now it's somewhat mixed in there, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and start adding the eggs. Now you'll need 4 large eggs, and you want to just sort of add them one at a time and sort of get them mixed in there with just using your spatula. Alright, we're going to go ahead and add another one in now. We are going to use the electric mixer in just a minute on this. And the reason I mix it up this way, again, I just don't like it all flying around everywhere, the cocoa powder, because it will do that because it's real light. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and add another egg. Mix that around a little bit. And then ready for the last of the eggs. So that's 4 large eggs. Alright, now while I'm here, before I put the mixer in it, I'm going to go ahead and add the vanilla. And you'll need 1 teaspoon of just pure vanilla extract. Dump that in. Mix it around. Alright, now we're ready for the mixer. And I'm going to cut the camera off until I get through beating this up. We'll just take a couple of minutes. I'm just cleaning off my spatula with the beaters. Alright, so we'll be right back. Okay, we've got this mixture beaten up pretty good till it's, you'll see it change color. I do want to just scrape around the edge with the spatula. Alright, so now we're ready for the flour. And what you'll need is 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. And you want to sift that first and then measure it. And what I do is actually sift it again by putting it in the sifter again. And you'll need 1½ teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to give this recipe down below in the description. Alright, so I'm just going to sift that into my little bowl. Alright, so we're ready to add our flour, and I think you can probably tell from the recipe this is really like a brownie recipe. It really is. So I'm going to add about 1/3 of the flour, and I'm just going to mix that around with my spatula. You don't have to get it mixed in real thoroughly, just get it mixed in a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to add another 1/3 of the flour. Mix that in. Alright, now the rest of the flour. And you do want to use the all-purpose flour. And I use the white lily. You could also use cake flour. Alright, so I'm just mixing this in until I get that flour kind of wet and incorporated a little bit. Now I'm going to use the electric mixer for just a little short period. Alright, now we're going to put the mixer in it again just for a very short time, just till we get the flour incorporated really good. Now because the flour has been sifted, in this case twice, it's really not going to have any lumps in it. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this off and we'll be right back when I get through with using the mixer. Alright, we've got the flour pretty well mixed in now. And now the last addition to the batter part of this will be 1.5 cups of pecan pieces. Now, this is a southern recipe and it definitely calls for pecans. And you just want to mix those around, get them mixed in thoroughly. Now we're going to bake this in I think it's a 9 by 13 Pyrex dish, glass dish. And we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes or until a toothpick inserted right down the middle of it comes out clean. And I'm thinking that's going to be about 30 minutes in my oven. Alright, so the nuts are pretty well mixed in now. And you do want to grease and then flour your Pyrex dish. So this is just sort of a standard, I think it's 9 by 13 by 2 inches tall. So we're just going to dump this in the pan now. See, that looks like a brownie recipe, doesn't it? And it really is a brownie recipe, pretty much. See if I can get this bowl cleaned out a little bit better. Alright, now we're just going to spread this out in the dish as evenly as you can get it. Alright, we're ready for this to go in the oven. Now, once it's done, we're going to do the topping on it, which is going to be a marshmallow topping, and then we're going to put an icing over that, and I'm telling you, it's a super, super rich cake. Alright, we'll be back when this is done. Okay, we have just taken this bottom part of the Mississippi mud pie out of the oven. Now, this should be, the inside texture of it should really be like a chewy brownie, really. So what I do is just mash it down a little bit. It's going to go down some anyway, but I mash it down just a little bit. And by the way, mine actually, in my oven, had to cook for 40 minutes. So and when I put the recipe down at the bottom, I'm going to put 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your oven. Alright, now we're going to cover this with some marshmallow cream, and I use 2 of these, so that makes it 14 ounces. So you have to do this very quickly while it's hot. I'm just dolloping it on there. It's really hard to work with this marshmallow cream stuff. And once you get it on there, you can just let it sit for a little while, and it will kind of melt into the hot cake. Alright, let me use this other jar. Now I'll go ahead and use 2 jars because I want to see that marshmallow layer in there. And again, this is pretty hard to work with, and you do have to work quickly. See if we can't spread this out. You want to do that very gently. But even if it pulls up, I'm going to get another knife. Or use the back side of a spoon. Just kind of get it spread out on top of the cake. Now you see it's sort of melting. And I just like hook it on the sides. Kind of makes it stay if you can get it hooked onto the side a little bit. And again, I use 2 of those containers because the original recipe, you could buy the large jar of marshmallow cream, and I don't know why at our grocery store I could only find the small one. But I'm sure they still make the large 14 ounce, or I think actually back in the 70s I think it was 16 ounce is what I remember. Alright, so that's the middle layer of this. Now, I'm going to go the extra mile here. And I'm going to actually add more marshmallows to the top of it. I know. But I just really like to see that big hunk of marshmallow cream in the middle there. Alright, now I've turned my oven off. But obviously my oven's going to still be warm, and this is going to go back in the oven just until they melt. Now you don't want them brown, all you want is for them to melt, okay? Alright, so we'll be back. We're going to fix the icing in a minute. Okay, here's the marshmallows, and they're just ever the slightest bit melted, just a little bit. And I'm going to put the icing right over the top of that. Then when you cut into it, you'll really be able to see the layer of marshmallow cream. Alright, so we are ready to do the frosting now. Now in this pot, I've got melting 1 stick of butter. And it doesn't have to be, completely melted. But to this, I'm going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of vanilla. And another 1/3 cup of Hershey's cocoa. You don't want the cocoa mix, you want just the pure cocoa. 1/3 right in there to that butter. Just a couple of dashes of salt. And then we're just going to mix that in. Now I've cut my burner off. I just only wanted the butter, just slightly melted. Alright, now to this we're going to add 3 tablespoons of just regular whole milk. Now if we need another tablespoon we'll do that or more. But start out with 3. Just mix that all around. Alright, now I'm going to add the equivalent of 1 pound of confectionery sugar. This is actually a 2-pound bag, so I'm going to really add the whole bag. So what I had was half of a 2-pound bag. That's what that was. So now you just want to mix that around. Now my burner is still just a little bit warm, which is good. Mix that around. Alright, so we're going to need a couple more tablespoons of milk. And you do want to add them one at a time. Alright, let's see if that'll work for us. Yeah, that'll do it, probably. Alright, now we're going to put the mixer in this, and I do want to somewhat be able to pour this over this part of the Mississippi mud pie. So I'm going to put the mixer in this and get it all smooth, and we'll be back. Okay, I've mixed this up with the electric mixer, And what I'm going to do is add yet another maybe half a tablespoon of milk to that, because I want it just a little bit thinner than that. Because it's really hard to spread it on here on the thing with the marshmallow cream the way it is. You want to be almost able to pour the icing on it. Alright, that ought to do it. Alright, let's see if this is going to work now. So I added probably a total of 6.5 tablespoons of additional, well, not additional, but about 6.5 tablespoons of just whole milk. So we're going to see if we can't make this work now. It does still feel just slightly warm. Of course, the bottom is really good and warm, so we're going to put this icing on it. Y'all watch how I do this, because it's really tricky. Get it on there just as quick as you can. Now you could wait till this cooled and put the icing on, but I never do that. Never. Alright, let's see if we can spread some of this out on here. Just very gently. See if you can hook it on to the sides there like that. And if some of the marshmallows are showing through, that is perfectly okay. Because I can tell you it will be delicious regardless of what it looks like. And just smear it over and kind of catch the edge of the pan. That kind of works. You don't want any going overboard there. I can get a little bit more out of here. And I do like it. Well, that's good. When the marshmallows are kind of showing through. And so anyway, here it is, and we're going to let it cool just a little bit more, and then I'm going to cut some of it and we'll show you what it looks like. So we'll be back in just a minute. Well, actually, let me let you see what it looks like from the side. Hold on. There you go. See that thick layer of marshmallow cream? That's what I like. Now the original recipe, of course, didn't call for that much. That the little adding the marshmallows to the top of it and put it back in the oven while the oven is still, you know, fairly warm, and they'll just slightly melt. There it is from the side. All right. I can't wait. I know it's going to make me hyper, but I'm going to have a piece anyway. You really can't eat a very big piece of it because it's so rich. There's what it looks like. Alright, we'll be back when this is cooled a little bit. Okay, here's what a little square of the Mississippi mud pie looks like. If you can see that one a little bit clearer. Anyway, it ain't pretty, but boy, it is sure good. And the reason it comes out of the pan this way is because we cut it while it's still warm. So if you can wait and not cut it until it's cool, it'll come out much neater, but we just simply couldn't wait. Alright, so we will see y'all next time.